Don't expect this movie to be anything like the original Ghost in the Shell movie. It pulls a Jurassic Park 2 and attempts to be a very, very different experience. And it's understandable. Ghost in the Shell 1 is a superior anime movie, packing everything that makes the whole franchise what it is into 82 glorious minutes. It's had complexity, cybercrime, philosophy, and it even managed to fit in a tachikoma. Innocence is not as good as its predecessor, but the real question is if its standalone differences work. Firstly, as you've probably guessed from all the promotional material, the Major is no longer the main character here. Instead, the focus is on Batou and Togusa as partners investigating a series of murders by sex dolls. Is this a problem if you're a major Motoko Kusanagi fan? Not really. Throughout the movie, we always feel her presence. So think of Sherlock Holmes in The Hound of the Baskervilles, where he pretty much leaves the first act, yet we always feel that Sherlock is there. And anyway, Batou and Togusa are strong enough characters to lead a movie. Batou in particular shows how capable and skilled he is as a cop/intelligence expert, and the script gives him plenty of badass moments. Togusa is the usual good guy, yet he still retains a down-to-earth approach to the case, which naturally makes him a skilled investigator. Aramaki and Ichikawa have very minor roles, but they still generate a feeling of overall teamwork. No, we don't see Pazu, Boma, Saito, or even the Tachikomas, but it's not really a big problem because what would the Section 9 team play in this movie overall? The focus is on Batou and Togusa investigating a cybercrime, and that's just about enough for a 90-minute movie. The other major difference between this movie and its predecessor is that this movie is a lot less restrained in terms of its progression and philosophies. While the second and final acts were okay, the first act was all over the place. We jump from situation to situation with very little substance gluing the scenes together. The shop scene, for example, was very well presented, but it happened so out of the blue that it drew attention to how messy the first act actually is. All the philosophical concepts feel standard and randomly thrown in. They're spoken of rather than shown off. Remember how the first movie explored the idea of fake memories in a subtle yet shocking way? In this movie, the idea of fake memories is talked about with no real exploration of the consequences around such a concept, rendering the concept meaningless. Stylistically speaking, Innocence is immensely different to Ghost in the Shell 1. It's extremely 3D heavy, whilst Ghost in the Shell 1 was extremely 2D heavy, and I'm wondering why Innocence isn't just entirely 3D. I mean, the 3D does make the movie more cinematic, but it actually takes away whatever substance there is because the 3D is so distracting from what's actually happening. The alley scene could have been a creepy and eerie sequence, but the overuse of 3D within it made the sequence pretty and beautiful instead. There's also this huge amount of extreme close-ups of the 3D too, which is not only pointless, but it ignores the rule of filmmaking where 3D is filmed from a distance to make the 3D come across as more real looking. Think of how in Jurassic Park 2, which I mentioned earlier, the extreme close-ups, whenever it comes to special effects, were of practical special effects, and it sells. In the same way extreme close-ups of 2D animation instead of 3D animation sells. Aside from all that, the surreal camera work did carry across a strange atmosphere, which did add to the overall effect of the movie, which revolves around murder cases. Innocence is a slow-paced mystery drama, heavy in dialogue and light in action. While I do appreciate that the slow pace allows the ideas to soak in, the ideas are too random to soak in the first place. Batou and Togusa are interesting enough characters, and the movie did have that classic Ghost in the Shell complexity, but ultimately, the style outdid the substance, to the point where the substance didn't really matter as much as maybe it should have done. I don't think the movie is trying to be shallow, but it seems that way anyway, because it's really obvious that Production IG had a very high budget, and they really wanted to show off that they spent and spent and spent. This isn't a terrible movie, but it's nothing spectacular. It's just a really good looking crime drama with lots of fantasy thrown in. 3 stars out of 5.